you need an approach and a methodology that's going to bring people together and allow them to be able to brainstorm. That sort of allows you to get people to the table on how to do the approach. Our tools then allow that to actually come to life. So if you have different teams in different places in the world, if people are just even in the same city, but in different places, that ability to come together, to collaborate, to build, to prototype, to do those sort of things, and then be able to have it in sort of one place makes it as a much easier communication tool. There's a lot of CEOs that have, our app on all their phones and those sort of things, because I think that, the reason why is, again, as you talk about what is it that those teams are doing different or higher maturity teams are doing differently, I think that ability where it's not, let's have an idea, let's design it, and let's launch it. Now it's, let's find some insights, let's prototype a bunch of ideas, let's see what works, let's refine those, let's kind of do it some more. And we need a single central source of truth as we do that. So I think our tools range from a virtual whiteboard, which since COVID, everybody loves, is that ability to put up to several hundred people into a virtual whiteboard. Everybody gets their own marker. We can sort of all get in there and work. The ability to prototype ideas, to design, to be able to help our engineers sort of bring that to life. And that's what I said, is I think that was what we tapped into, was just that want of how do we find something we all can put in our hands and relate to and work with, and to make that creative process accessible to everybody.
So Invision's, and forgive me for the wrong example, but it's like Google Docs, but for design, like where you can collaborate, like in a document, you can collaborate through the design process. Is that, because I'm trying to make it connect?
I think, you're heading in the right direction. Yeah. So I think, the tools can take a bunch of different forms, and sort of like, a Google Doc or anything else, you can use it a lot of different ways, but it's about how do we get to primarily cloud-based collaborative tools to help with the design process, sort of like a design operating system inside of a company, where we can come in and be able to say, great, if everybody needs to come together and do a brainstorm, here's a whiteboard. If you want to collect a bunch of assets to do a mood board, here's another tool for that. If you want to build a prototype or design something, and that the ecosystem that we have is all interconnected, so that then again, everybody can access, and it's a single source of truth, because often that those tooling can get very fragmented, which can make it hard to be able to kind of, again, point people to one place where they can figure out what's going on.
So you filled a gap almost, like in this approach to design thinking and integrating that across a company. And what Invision does is that it kind of connects like all of the stakeholders like in a company. Is that right? And it's kind of before you open the Photoshop software, the Illustrator
100%.
software. So it's at the thinking stage. It's like a thinking app kind of thing for design.
I would say, sort of to our conversation, as we had sort of talked about, you need an approach and a methodology that's going to bring people together and allow them to be able to brainstorm. That sort of allows you to get people to the table on how to do the approach. Our tools then allow that to actually come to life. So if you have different teams in different places in the world, if people are just even in the same city, but in different places, that ability to come together, to collaborate, to build, to prototype, to do those sort of things, and then be able to have it in sort of one place makes it as a much easier communication tool, because I think that's what these companies have tapped into, is that often their systems are fragmented, their teams are fragmented, and that ability to say, okay, great, here's one way that we can work, I think often, again, really provides them with something that they've really been wanting.
Yeah, so we use Invision app, but only for one part of the process. And so now, like as part of this process of actually conducting the research, I was like, wow, Invision does a lot more than just the feedback on some designs and some other parts. So it may have started that way, like a fair few years ago, but it seems to have expanded pretty quickly in the last 2 years in terms of the features.
It definitely has. And I think even for us, as recently as last week, Freehand, which was that whiteboarding tool, I think a lot of it for us is even using these as platforms for different companies to be able to now show off how do they use the tools. So, we launched a bunch of templates, and this is everybody from like American Express to Xbox to KPMG to IBM, where they're sort of coming through and now they're sharing, hey, look, these are the templates we use. This is the way that we work. So again, I think, that ability for them to be able to see that there's a lot of different ways to be able to use it, because again, I think that's the part of any creative process, is you can do it a lot of different ways, which is, I think, both the strength and the challenge in sometimes in tools like that.